to Upstage Downstage, with him, Richard Platt, seated in the upper circle.
And him, Stephen Rees, typically seated in the cheap seat.
This is the Theatre Podcast, where we discuss productions we've seen
Things we've liked,
and may not have liked,
giving our complete unprofessional
and non-biased opinions.
So grab a brew,
Take a seat,
and let's raise that curtain. On today's episode, we'll be discussing The Syndicate. We saw this production at the Theatre Royal Nottingham on the 7th of June 2024. Following on from the huge success of her other stage adaptations, Band of Gold and Fat Friends, The Syndicate marks the world premiere of Kay Mellor's final stage play, which once again demonstrates Kay's unparalleled ability to make us laugh, cry and above all entertain, with her wonderful characters and stories. So Stephen, what's it all about?
The Syndicate follows 5 supermarket employees whose lottery syndicate numbers come in, just as their jobs and livelihoods are under threat. Will a share of the £24 million jackpot make their dreams come true, or their nightmares a reality? One thing's for certain, the win of a lifetime will change the lives, loves and relationships of all the syndicate members. Forever.
But first, our post-show opinion!
I'd prefer to be an unexpected item in a bagging area.
I wouldn't bother filling in a ticket.
So, with all that said, let's
Set the scene!
Right, take 2. Let's set the scene for the Syndicate.
We're in a shop.
A mini market this time.
It got shelves,
Yep, right up to the ceiling.
lots of shelves and a till, and also a lower unit that was almost, I'd say, chest height in the middle of the stage with more
Yeah, that was like you
items on.
Yeah, centre aisle.
That, yeah,
really,
it showed
that's
the
indicated.
centre aisle, wasn't it, really?
Yeah.
And then
A
there was
lottery thing at the back.
a lottery thing at the back, and then there was like a typical card section where you got your happy birthday cards and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
you've got all the elements of a mini
Typical,
supermarket,
yeah.
mini Tesco. Your usual, usual
with the little wire
place.
baskets at the back as
Yeah.
well. Where
Yeah.
the main door, as they come in and out of the shop, was at the back, followed by a window, a shop window.
Yeah, it
front.
was like a smoke glass, so you couldn't really see behind it. You'd see enough, but you couldn't really.
You'd
what
see
was
the
happening.
people come and go.
You'd
as
see
they
the
were walking
movement.
in and
but,
out.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then there was also on one top of one of the shelves was was right
Scope.
at the top was CCTV
Yeah.
screen showing images of the shop. So all the elements you expect to see in the environment, really.
Yeah, and to the stage right, we had the staff quarters, their changing rooms. To get to this, you actually went around the back of the stage, so that was the other side of the flat
Yeah.
for that. And it had just a simple seating area with a just somewhere to hang your clothes. And in a later scene, that doubled up, so that was taken away, and it then became the hospital scene with the bed that came out from the back of that flat.
Yeah.
And to stage left, we had the supermarket manager's office, which contained the safe,
Yeah.
which was then going to be incorporated.
And there
into
was
the
the
script of-
manager's desk as well, where that's where you'd have done all his cashing up and working out away from the main office, really, main shop.
Yep. And that was Act 1. Act 2, it all gets taken away.
Yeah.
Because they win the lottery, and then the whole scene gets turned around. The whole shelving units and everything within the shop then are they're turned around, and we actually see this grand house, sort of. But we'll come to that later.
Yes.
Right, so now we've described the set, let's discuss the play. So overall, what were your first thoughts when we booked this play? Because it was a late booking, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
We saw it advertised, but we knew we had to come and see this one.
I think as well, you almost go with a little bit of confidence knowing it's a Kay Mellor production, because she's got she's got a reputation for comedy writing and got a good following. So, and actually, it's more of a northern comedy, so you expect some level of fun and and frivolity, really. I think
Down to earth humour,
Yeah.
definitely something relatable, and
Yeah.
also it had a great cast in terms of those that have been in off the TV. So you
Yeah.
had Gaynor Faye, Samantha Giles, and Brooke Vincent.
Yeah.
There you stand out three,
Yeah, definitely.
which support this play and
Yeah.
promote this play.
And also you got some newbies as well, so it's nice to see a mix, to see how they perform in that setting as well. So it's it can make or break a new actor or something when they perform in these sort of productions as well.
Now, how did it start? Do you remember?
There was a lot of preamble about being workers in the supermarket, and
No, I
but
mean,
also-
do you remember how it actually started when we first
do you?
saw it? Yeah. Gaynor Faye came out.
Yes.
She started talking to us. Now, we're assuming
yeah,
this.
sorry,
this
yeah,
was
yeah.
This
Right,
was a
sorry,
part
yes,
of.
yes.
I'm assuming this was a part of the play because it was in terms of the syndicate. However, on the night we had a few hecklers, didn't we?
Yeah, it was a strange start to the production, because basically what we'd done is fast forwarded to the point where they won.
Yeah.
So, but we never saw anybody else on stage apart from Gaynor Faye. So we were just getting a little bit of an announcement to almost say that we know they've won, and now we're going to go back to the start to find out how. And it's a bit of a...
And then we had a heckle, which I think was possibly scripted, but
Yeah.
then there was another one that seemed like like she's going to take some questions and answers from the studio audience or the audience members in the theatre, and as if people were talking to her as if she was Gaynor Faye rather than her character.
Yeah, exactly.
And there was a little confusion there about, has this play actually started, or is she being serious that there's going to be a talk after the show about this? So
yeah, it was
we-
weird.
yeah, I mean, we're not likely to see this play again. So
No.
if you have been,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
and this little section at the very start of it wasn't in it, do let us know.
Yeah. Yeah,
Be
because it was a bit
interested to know what
surreal.
happened. Yeah, but then more things happened later on, which we'll probably get to later.
I'm sure we will.
Some more bloody heckling. But there we go. So the curtains opened, and we were presented with the set which we've just described, and we we start with them setting up their characters.
Yeah.
And their basic.
Yeah, you
wants
felt
and
like
needs.
you were being drip fed each person's life, where they fit in the mix, really, interspersed with walk-on parts of different sort of secondary cast that were making up shoppers, really.
Yeah.
Coming in to give the effect that they were running a shop and these things were happening at the same time, and
Yeah, we didn't get to see Gaynor Faye at the beginning either. I
no,
mean,
that was it,
apart
really.
from that,
Yeah, that was it until
they won the money.
Yeah.
She disappeared. So I think from my perspective, I felt like it was Samantha Giles that held everyone together.
Totally.
Her character, she was the sort of the mother figure who's been there at the mini mart for a while, and whilst this is a small supermarket, there's an awful lot of staff members.
Yes, there was.
There's more staff compared to the amount of customers that came in, and whilst you said it started up with their own characters, little stories, we also had the love story of Leanne and Stuart be setting up there.
Yeah.
Over that, which I'm pretty much certain that this is all based off of the Syndicate TV show as it is. So they've taken certain things from the TV series and
Yeah, so
put
you're
it into
almost
it.
you're almost being fast forwarded into all the plot lines, all the things within that first sort of half an hour. So it was a little disorientating at times, because I think it was we've got to get all these stories in quick, and and I think that it's not a bad place to talk about, maybe to mention that the Syndicate was actually a TV series rather than one film or whatever on TV. So to condense that down into a play is a challenge.
It makes it come across as a little weak, because you copy and pasting certain storylines, which I'm sure on the TV series would have had time to develop over many episodes, many days. But with this just being on the stage within a small amount of time, with the characters they've got, it come across as a little too much of everything and not enough of something a bit more condensed.
To the point where it felt quite shallow, where you haven't got time to gel to everybody. And I think that's why you warmed to the Samantha Giles character.
Yeah, there was a fully fleshed out character there.
You instantly got that character, and everybody else was almost there. But it didn't feel that it didn't feel to build on everybody around. It didn't build as quick, maybe.
Yeah. So we set up that one of the characters, Jamie, who worked there, he was very lavish in his spendings and his lifestyle, bit slapdash, not really bothered about being at work. Stuart was the one that was responsible. He's the one that cashed up, but he was involved with Amy, who was having a baby, and he was the one that kept forgetting to pay for the syndicate in the first place.
Exactly. He forgot to buy the ticket or pay part of it.
Yeah, and the storyline there was that Amy and Stuart probably wasn't going to be together had they have not won the money. But when it came to the cause that when it came to it that they did come into money, they got together.
Yeah, that was the. I think this is where it started feeling rushed, because they were trying to like almost force feed you with that storyline quick.
It was shoehorning that storyline in, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Very much so. And then you had Bob, played by William Ilkley, who I was convinced was Steve Pemberton from The League of Gentlemen. I kid you not.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
I thought, I didn't realise...
Stephen was a little bit, obsessed with this.
I thought, I couldn't remember Steve Pemberton being in this. And
he's on a tour, and then he's doing other things.
Yeah, because he was at his desk. He was he had other things going on the stage with that character, and I thought he sounds very much like it. So it must be.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't until you said in the interval, no, it's not. And I checked the actual programme, I thought, bloody hell, it isn't at all.
No. Well.
So if ever Steve Pemberton needed a double, it would be William Ilkley.
I think he's busy doing, Inside Number 9 in London at the moment. So he's.
Yeah, well, you never know.
Oh no, he could be moonlighting. You never,
Well, that's it. And what other storylines did we have? We had Samantha Giles. She was in sort of.
She was Denise. We keep saying Samantha Giles. Sorry.
The
character Denise.
It's simply because she stood out. So
yeah, exactly.
Denise's character. Well, Samantha's character of Denise.
Yeah.
You threw me off now.
Sorry.
She put on this completely different persona of someone who was in a relationship where it wasn't really going anywhere. That turned out that he was having an affair.
Yeah.
Anyway. But then, once she got some money, he was suddenly interested.
Yeah, it was almost the reverse of the Stuart and...
No, it was the same one. Because as soon as they came into money, they were both...
Yeah, but I mean, it's male-female switch, as in he was more interested when they became, you know what I mean? That's what I mean. It's like the opposite way around almost.
And Leanne, the character of Leanne, she was quite subtle all the way through this, but she had a mystery about her.
Yeah,
and it wasn't until the very
there.
end where it ended up being about childcare issues or adoption or something like that. There was a more deeper aspect of that, but that was another thing that sort of ended up being a last-minute thing. Revelation, and like we've discussed beforehand, when you're sort of like filling in loads of storylines of the characters, you sort of overshadow.
Yeah, you really do.
You know there's something there, but then when it comes to the reveal at the end, it just seemed a bit too shoehorned in at the last minute.
It felt like the moments where they were trying to get the mystery or the intrigue in the first half was almost like, we've got to do it quick, so throw it in, and it's like we knew something was coming, and it was like, but you didn't know if it was just it didn't feel strong enough to know where it was going, really.
No, and I think this is probably why this episode in the podcast seems a bit all over the place because I genuinely don't know where to start, other than trying to rehash certain little plot lines, because we've also missed the main plot, which was conjured up by Jamie and Stuart in the first place, of them robbing the mini mart to get the money before it goes into the bank.
And this was before they won the lottery.
Exactly, yes. So,
and the consequences of that, where actually, what's his name?
Jamie.
It's where Bob actually gets injured.
Yes.
Nearly fatally. Yeah. And then while he's in hospital, they win the lottery.
That's right, because he comes back during their alleged break-in.
Yeah.
To take the money, and he discovers Jamie in a balaclava, but he doesn't realise there's Jamie.
No.
Then that's where things start going wrong. Which, if we just talk about the writing here a minute, I mean, that in itself is quite a good plot point.
It is, yeah.
Moving the story on, but also adding a plot twist.
Yeah.
Something that changes, something that you can't go back from again, and getting them into deeper and deeper crap.
Yeah.
Really. But it just seemed to have been a very long drag to get there, and then a tumultuous time then.
But then the wrap-up was quick as well, as in, like, when it came to, like, the last bit after that.
In the final of Act 2.
Yeah, it just seemed to, like, rush round and wrap it up. I think the problem is as well, because you only really saw the shop for the whole of the first half.
You saw the shop?
Saw the shop. They had to wrap everything up in the first half that was related to that area, and then fast forward so quick to the next scene, which was set in Stuart's house, Stuart and Amy's house.
Yeah.
I was going to say Amy, but yeah, you fast forwarded to Stuart and Amy's house, where you lost a chunk in the middle of them almost basking in the winnings, because they had to almost shoehorn. We've rented the house quick, like it was like they've got a house very quick, and we've now got to we've got to tell the story of what happened in the gap through the medium of we're moving into this house. Well, they moved in very quickly.
Yeah,
they
did.
And I think
this play is quite funny because it gives me a play in two halves. The first part of it is set in the supermarket. So think your Viv post office in Emmerdale or Alfred corner shop, and then on the second half it's Footballers' Wives.
Exactly, but it was instant Footballers' Wives. Like what?
Absolutely, and it particularly, I think it was either series 4 or 3 of Footballers' Wives, with the young lad with the young girl who was trying to impress, and she felt so out of it.
Yeah.
I can't remember their names, but that's who we were pretty much seeing here.
Yeah, exactly.
She was spending all his money on everything, wanting to get boob jobs and this, that, and the other, and he had a huge secret still remaining. Oh God, it was such a mess.
I think it's because you felt like they were having to narrate what had happened in the gap throughout the second half.
Yeah,
you felt like they were having to almost not. They were basically going back in time to say, "Oh, then this happened and that happened and this." And remember when that happened, and it was all felt like you were trying to fill the gap because we're in a new place, but you were like, we've just jumped that far forward that. They're all living their lives with money, rather than understanding what to do with the money and the pull and the draw between that.
See, I can understand that the second act was different, though. I get
that.
Like before the win and after the win. So I get that. That's fine. There's not an issue there. I think it was the whole build up to it, and if you concentrate on the acts themselves separately and what you got within that, it just felt really dead. It felt really like stale, and it didn't feel or come across like this was an exciting show or it was dramatic in any way. No. It just seemed half-baked, and whilst the performances, they were all right and they were good, I think what let it down was the dialogue,
Yeah.
was the
I
storylines, the
agree.
shoehorning in so many different pieces of information between all of the cast. Now,
It's like a tennis match.
I felt this way with Best Marigold Hotel as well. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
All those characters had different storylines to follow.
yeah.
And it was like revolving doors in a way of who you followed. But it didn't, because this wasn't written specifically for the stage,
Yeah,
you can clearly tell that it was just taken scenes from the studio scripts.
yeah, and it was not just that. It was
Well, I didn't say it was just that.
no. I think for me, well, no. What I was going to say is it's not just that. It's the
No, I know.
it's like they pulled the songs. They pulled the jokes from the series, and because they were funny on TV,
Yeah.
they were going to be funny on stage.
Yeah.
You know, it's like all the comedy elements and all the fun.
Well, you say
in it.
comedy elements, but what were they?
No, that's what I mean. It was like they all fell flat, didn't they? You know, the like interactions that were probably meant to be silly and funny, then to mix up with the drama of it.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
It was. It works when the camera's close to you on a TV screen, but it doesn't, because in a TV program, an hour long, 8, 9 episodes or whatever, you can meander a little. Whereas this felt like it was meandering and then rushing and then meandering, and you didn't really know. You were losing the characters, and the bit of fun was lost. The comedy elements were lost in the middle of it. It just, they're definitely lost in the mist sometimes. You just
and I think when it comes to latching on to one kind of saviour within this, and we have said Samantha Giles, because she gave a character that wasn't normal.
No.
In terms of, we've not seen her in like that. She wasn't like Denise from Emmerdale.
No,
she wasn't
wasn't.
anything else she's
No.
ever been in. It was definitely a character that she's created.
and she was also
And-
two characters, because in the second half she was
Yeah, but what I'm trying to say is, like, all her jokes was character driven.
yeah, they were, yeah.
If we go back to the jokes
Yeah.
and everything, so you laughed when she spoke.
Yeah.
You laughed when she did something that was outrageous or was quite funny or whatever.
And it felt like she was doing the heavy lifting a lot of the time with the production.
You
'cause it
couldn't
was-
laugh at the others.
No. And I know it's probably a characterization thing, or, with the people they had on stage, but it just didn't flow like it should have done.
A bit like this episode.
Yeah. Just we're struggling to find things to we're trying to be positive, but I think that this is a production that
Are we on about the Syndicate production or the production of this episode?
Both.
Because for me, whenever we talk about stuff which does make us feel a bit cold, it's like when you watch.
flat.
Remember when you watch Gladiators?
Yeah.
And they go from they do the rings.
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
feel like lightning just.
I feel
stuck
like I've
on
got
the
some
one
legs wrapped
ring,
around me and I've been pulled off.
and I can't get to the next ring. I can't believe you just said that. But we'll carry on, because maybe no one.
As long as it's
actually got
Cobra,
that.
I don't want.
Yeah,
I don't want...
well, you mean the drink, right? No, never mind. But yeah, I feel like we're on one ring and we're trying to get to the next one
Yeah,
to get
we are.
across, but it's like, oh, where do we go next? Because
and
it's
the,
like,
and
oh,
the chains are swinging.
yeah, the wrong way. So, oh God, it's such a shame, because I really wanted to enjoy this show, and I'll say it now, and I don't particularly care. I felt like this did come across like an amateur show.
It did.
And I'm not saying that to make amateur production sound bad. I've seen we know of really great amateur production companies and shows like shows we've seen.
Yeah, exactly.
I won't list them because, I'm sure this podcast is like worldwide and they won't particularly know about where we see.
No,
stuff,
but I think it's the level you think. You mention amateur, and I think the thing is, we talk about.
I suppose, let me just cut in there. Like, even the set
Yeah.
was very like bog standard early theatre, of just having one entrance and exit, really.
Yeah, and basically some IKEA shelving units on wheels. That's what it felt like.
And flats and
a
stuff.
few flats made out of, because you have to use what you can afford rather than making a set for a tour that will withstand a tour. And I'll mention my note now because it's not really a technical failing, but because the set changed so dramatically in the interval, you could tell that the shelving unit in the middle of the stage was ruining the lino that they were using. They were using cheap lino on the stage for the kitchen. Sorry, not the kitchen, the actual the shop scene. But they were dragging the shelving unit off. There was no wheels or felt under the actual shelving unit in the middle.
Yeah.
So it was scratching and scraping the lino. It never moved in the first half at all, but it had ruined the lino. And this tour, it hadn't toured that much. They'd only done a couple of venues before this.
Yeah.
And it's already ruining the set. And you're like, if you've got any nous about you as a professional tour, you should make sure that you can pack the set away ready for the next venue. And you felt like, are we buying the lino? Because I felt like we were. Because
I thought when we saw the hospital bed, I thought, there's a couple of scratches there. But it wasn't until the second act when they moved the centre aisle away.
Centre aisle, yeah.
And he said, look, there's all that marking there. I thought, bloody hell, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and it won't be long before that cuts the lino and then cast a tripping on it, and it's like they're having to tape it, and it just. You can't say that, we didn't know it would do that. You've got to think, if you're putting things on top of things, protect them, It really annoys me when you see... It's almost like a fail to attend... There's not enough attention to detail sometimes.
The thing that also lets this production down, I feel, is because they've set it in one set, really. Yeah. Although they've got the office and the hospital and stuff, they've opened it up that way. It did feel sort of like stifled within the stage, only being in front of a panel of wood, basically. No matter what it's saying it was still in a flat, whereas there didn't seem to have been anything like a curtain come down or a different space or anything that went outside, or like even if the shop somehow turned around and there was an outside scene, just taken it outside rather than inside, because everything was inside.
Yeah, exactly.
Staff changing room, the hospital.
Yeah.
Everything was very much inside.
But not just that, the scenes that we had...
I didn't say it was just that.
No. I was just going to say the scenes that we had to watch where you had to have the interactions when there was two people pulled to one side to talk about something. Say, when... It was like the moments where Jamie and Stuart went off to one side to talk about a brother thing or an issue.
Yeah.
And they had to clear the set every time.
Yeah.
So they couldn't just go off to one side and leave people in situ, because the whole room was one whole room. There was nowhere, the kitchen wasn't visible. Or
there was nowhere to hide.
You couldn't go anywhere else. So there
was stuck.
You literally had to write something in to clear the stage to, I'm going to go over there to the garden or this. And the main things all happened in one room.
Now, you're on about the second act, aren't you?
Yeah.
The garden. Yeah.
And it was just so bits because you had maybe more elements in the first half because there was 3 different rooms.
Yeah, there were. Well, 4.
4.
But yes.
But there was that more. There was more interaction.
There were more
in that
set
way.
pieces as well.
Yeah.
In terms of the colourful display of items that were on sale, shall we say?
Whereas because they made it so vast, the second half it didn't have that.
So let's just discuss the second half. So once they turned the walls around, we had the front door of the shop turn into a double door entrance, but that was to one side.
Yeah. It was still in the same place as the shop entrance.
Yes.
But that was the garden, not the entrance to the house this time.
Yeah, and then there was the same wall again on the stage right, which had a TV screen in.
Yeah.
So that would have been the other side of where the till was.
Yeah, and then that was a walk off into the kitchen in front of it,
which would have been
like just an alcove.
Which in the other set would have been where the staff quarters in the hospital was,
and
in that section.
They hid the sort of bed and the notice board area with a big cardboard box,
which had to cover the bed from the hospital going out onto stage. So that's where the fragile Amazon box.
And it was a bit annoying because it stayed there all the time, and it didn't change when they removed all the boxes everywhere else, and they still hadn't moved in with that box.
Yeah, they've moved into this mansion house that they've now purchased. They've got people over for nibbles, and showing off, but they've still got boxes. And even the furniture,
Even if they just turned it round, or
there was a chaise longue, but there wasn't really a sofa.
There was no sofa or no. It was just one chaise and a one chair.
And one chair.
One gold chair.
Yeah.
And there was like garden furniture in the distance, but there wasn't really anything else.
Mm.
And this is where it started making it feel a bit like we need to put some items in there, but we can't put the full items in.
Yeah.
And it was a bit annoying because then you'd also got no levels apart from the chaise in one corner and a one chair.
But sorry, just to add to that, but to make it look slightly different, they turned the pillars into archways as well, so they added things on top as well, just to make it look more grand.
Yeah.
Even though nothing really happened.
And the TV worked, and they used it as like a music
a bit of everything
thing, and a bit of CCTV footage and all that,
Mm. So it was less impressive in the second act.
Yeah, it was. It was because you normally elevate in the second half from the previous half. You have an element of almost surprise. And
that's because if you think that the midway point is the interval, so the interval will always make you wanting to know more, asking a question, and for you to think, okay, so I want to know. There's got to be a reason why you've got to come back at the end of the day. And when you do come back, and all you get is more fodder, and we're starting again, in a way of this is a different set, everything's changed.
Yeah.
Or this 45 minutes now is just to tie loose ends up. There was no like pushing people further or getting things in trouble. Everything. Even when they found out that Stuart was the one that robbed the place to give Bob that found that he had cancer, but he could now go and afford to fix that. Everything seemed so easily fixable.
It did, yeah, it really did.
It seemed like quite easy to accept that as well.
Yeah, there was no struggle.
No, I mean it was a struggle to watch.
Yeah, well, yeah,
but there was
it took a while. Yeah,
there was no drama here. It was quite.
It almost felt like transactional drama. It's like I need to say this piece, then I'm going to walk off, and the next people will come out and say this piece. Then we'll move to the next people, and they'll say this piece. It was almost a lot of that rather than.
The only bit of friction was when Amy found out that perhaps Stuart liked Leanne.
Yeah.
But then that didn't particularly matter because then she was chasing. Well, she fancied Jamie then.
Yeah, and it didn't develop into tension.
No, it was very much like a tut and an eye roll, and I've got this money, so I don't particularly care. I'll just move on then, shall I?
Yeah, exactly.
It felt very empty.
And also, I mean, one thing I will throw in the mix is, why was the detective from the 70s?
Oh my goodness, I forgot about that. But yes, in fact, why was he like so plainclothes?
So plainclothes, but not just plainclothes, so relaxed.
Yes.
It was almost like he didn't really care, but he's investigating.
He wasn't an inspector at all.
And a burglary.
Technically, there wasn't really a murder either.
No. But
so it wasn't that serious.
He was just swanning in and out a bit like.
He owned the place.
Yeah.
Or like, those. He looked like a teacher.
Yeah, he did.
Or a lecturer from a university.
Yeah, he's definitely a lecturer.
Yeah, it's that kind of vibes.
Yeah, and his hands in his pockets, doing the whole lecturer thing and not really...
Corduroys on.
You didn't feel any sense of detector or investigator or...
And this is no disrespect to the actor at all, but more of a letdown by the wardrobe department.
Exactly, yeah.
Not making him have a character that stood out more as an official character, rather than
he felt like a customer rather than somebody that was there to investigate.
And yes, he did double up as a customer. However, the main character he was playing was the investigator.
Exactly.
And he should have investigated it.
It didn't feel threatening enough. I think that's as well what I got. I was like, he's just not. That nobody really felt like he was going to arrest anybody. It was a bit like he's there,
Yeah.
Almost like it almost felt like he was their conscience talking rather
I was
than
just going
the
to say
actual,
that, like,
rather than somebody that is official and
yeah.
It almost felt like I thought it felt like he wasn't there really. He was just saying things that you needed to hear that was going off in somebody's head more than anything.
Now, had he have been a conscience,
Yeah.
somebody's conscience, that would have made the play a little bit more interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially if it started off with...
It'd been more dark in
exactly,
places,
yeah,
yeah.
But it was just a bit useless. And talking of useless, I'm sorry to say, Gaynor Faye.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it.
I was shocked.
Yeah.
Because...
Oh, are we talking about the act? We've gone completely... We need to be a bit more structured here, don't we, on this one?
You mean Kay?
Kay. No.
Kay.
I was on about Gaynor Faye.
Yeah. Characters Kay.
No, I knew what I meant.
Yeah,
I mean, I meant the actor.
Yeah, no,
but
yeah.
we're talking about the actors
Yeah.
instead of not...
Yeah.
We shouldn't be, if you know what I mean, yet.
I think I've never seen such a bit part, really.
But let's... In terms of what we're talking about,
yeah.
writing and directing still.
Yeah.
Sorry.
There wasn't even a character, to be fair, in that role.
No, well, there's another one we can talk about. So, in terms of the writing of Kay, shall we say? Well, I have said it.
Yeah.
In terms of the
Terms
writing
of
of the
writing.
character of Kay, she was only there to approve the syndicate and to make sure that everyone was happy with the fact that Stuart didn't pay, hasn't been paying, and someone else has been putting in for him, and to make sure it was a vote. And then we turn out that his brother, Jamie, voted against him. And that was a bit of information which he later found about in Act 2. So there was a bit of drama there. Again, never turned to anything.
No, not at all. It was a little bit of brotherly fighting, but other than that, it wasn't really enough to,
And in this, another little section in Act 2 was Bob suddenly going to get married.
Oh, I really that blew my mind. Because
He had a whole monologue.
Because also, bless her, we had a character on stage that never said a word.
No.
And she's probably thinking, I'm doing a tour, I'm doing a production, no lines.
Yeah.
And it's like she literally
Understudy
just
she was ensemble,
but she was just stood there.
And all her line was yes.
Yeah, exactly. but not just that.
I never said it was just that.
But when Bob says I'm going to go to my wife, you didn't know it was his wife because he just walked over to this woman who's an understudy and just stood next to her, and it's a bit like, where's she come from? Because she didn't even look like they were when they walked on stage. There was no
there was nothing about
chemistry.
her really. She basically blended into the background. Yeah. She only stood out because she was wearing something that looked like a sofa throw.
Yeah, exactly.
And came to life just to say yes. But he had a whole monologue of
he had
his whole life.
Yeah, he had a load of monologue of why it's important that he remarries and this, that, and the other, and blah blah blah. But she said nothing.
No. But my mind, I was going through my own little mental monologue thinking, why do we even care at this point?
Yeah, and
we
also...
had nothing about him.
No, but you expect some level of chemistry or conversation before he went into a monologue or it's almost like if he's as feisty as he is, you'd expect, because he got personality, Bob had. You'd expect
he had
something
Steve
back.
Pemberton's
Yeah, he did,
personality.
yeah. But you'd expect something back, and if
Yeah.
only they'd have gave her some lines to actually make that a little bit more interactive, because it just felt...
Or
it just
incorporated
felt-
her into the supermarket at the start of the scene.
Yeah, exactly. Like as a love interest, as
Yeah.
a customer that you've dropped something or something. Just one of those moments, a passing thing in the first half that would have sown the seed for the second half.
Yeah.
Because then it wouldn't be as much of a shock of like, oh, we'll just grab one of the stagehands to be the wife. Because it felt like put a dress on and just stand there. It didn't feel like...
It didn't even have to be a woman.
No, it didn't.
Just chuck that dress on, that lampshade.
It'll do. But if only
Do
they
Morse code to say yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
If they'd have built something up in the first half, then it would have been lovely because it would have worked nicely. The link,
However, I'd probably say it wouldn't have mattered anyway, because that would have just been another strand for us not to have followed.
Yeah.
But I think it shouldn't have been in there anyway.
No.
We didn't need to see that. Yes, he got a resolve and a happy ending sort of a thing, but the play's not about him as such.
But the TV series has probably got those plot pieces.
Exactly, yeah.
So we've got to get them all in.
Do we?
No, but
that's
no,
I
what's
agree,
happening,
yeah. Yeah.
We've got to fast forward through all the plot pieces, so we've done it all.
Yeah.
And that's what happens when you condense something into a 2-act production.
Yeah.
Because you've got no choice but to shoehorn everything in, have you?
I'd rather have sat watching the shoehorn.
A static one or one swinging on a pole?
Either way, I've got 2 acts I could sit through. I could sit and watch one.
You could cut the shoehorn in half.
I could.
One for each half.
That's it, yeah. Swinging one and one not so swinging. Anyway, I digress.
Who were misses?
So, in terms of the writing on this one, I have to sum up and say that whilst Kay Mellor was a brilliant writer, a screenwriter, I don't think this play has done her legacy justice by taking something and making it under her name.
Yeah.
Like this, and I'm genuinely sorry about that.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know who I'm sorry to, but I just don't feel that this production shows off her work, shows off her talent, at all. It was awful.
And I also wonder if I know that this was one of Gaynor's first directed pieces that she directed, and
well, we haven't even talked about the direction.
No, I was going to say,
yet,
but Gaynor's very close to her mum, and but I also questioned was anybody capable of questioning her style or what she wanted to do with it, because
like a dramaturg.
Yeah, if you didn't have, for me, if somebody couldn't be critical because they were so close, because the director's so close to the material, and almost the owner of it.
Yeah.
And it's just not working, will they just say, yeah, go ahead and do it, but not give any constructive criticism? Because I think, it does matter whether it works with an audience, because it wasn't just us that weren't laughing at certain things. We were in that room and it wasn't very well sold, and I think we saw it on the Friday night.
Yeah.
And it was... And they'd not have filled the room. There was a lot of obvious jokes being thrown at the audience, and they just weren't picking them up.
No.
It wasn't just us that were sitting there not finding things funny. So, that's... And you've got to react to that a little bit. But the problem is the train's running already. You've got to run the production as it is. But it makes me wonder what happened in the creative process, whether it was...
I mean, let's not forget, this isn't a 100% comedy. It's a drama at the end of the day.
Course.
However, you do get comedy within drama. But we're talking about the comedy that sort of fell flat within that.
Yeah.
And if the drama falls flat, as well as the comedy,
exactly,
then what have we got?
And I think the thing is as well, like you said about comedy and drama mixing, comedy is a really useful tool to hit you harder with the drama, because you get lulled into a false sense of security with a funny joke or a quip, that then when something's said that's actually quite heartfelt or meaningful, it comes at you harder because you've just been smiling at something, and then it makes it you're almost more vulnerable to something else. And I think, and there's a fine line to doing that, but I just think...
Well, it's like comedy catches your attention and the drama makes you feel.
Yeah, exactly.
But you got nothing.
No,
I got nothing from this at all.
I mean, I didn't. But and it just felt obvious in the audience that people, I think they were genuinely wanting more, but it just didn't. It didn't give any more.
I certainly couldn't give any more.
No.
Of anything. What else was there that was a bit awkward whilst we're in this section? In Act... it was Act 2, I think it was, when Kay had her mobile phone. She was doing a piece to camera, and she was getting everybody else to do their little piece to camera, and setting up the stand with the light on it.
Yeah.
Like a lot of influencers have.
Yeah.
We don't. We're not influencers.
No. God forbid we influence.
Probably influence people the wrong way, but never mind. But even that, her setting that up, that just looked like a struggle. Like, even though she was the main director, because
Yeah.
you know, it was as if she didn't know what else to do.
And it was creating prop use without really it adding anything.
Yeah,
It was a way to get some more dialogue out, but
in between the bits where everyone was having their little tete-a-tetes.
But I
around the
also
place.
felt that then I was starting to struggle at what time zone it is, because I'll be honest, I think they'd have a film crew. You know, at least one of the customers from the first half could have become a cameraman or something. They don't have to have a speaking part, but they could have become a cameraman to actually film it. You know, even with a fake camera, it would have been enough to create.
But that's exactly
that
it.
level of winning, because you're winning a lot of money. You're not,
and also it would make a scene and make something special
exactly
within all that. However, what we ended up being was something a little half-arsed again, making everything feel a little half-arsed. Because whilst other people were having their conversations and things were going on, either if it's between Stuart and Amy or Stuart and Leanne, you know, and then Jamie coming in and out.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, you had Kay just there on a phone sorting stuff out, or looking like she's awkward.
Yeah.
In like a particular stance, just waiting to deliver her line.
But then she was gone. And that was it.
Yeah.
There was no real...
It was a part that was really beneath her.
Yeah, it
really. You know, it shouldn't have even been her in that. She was miscast.
But then as director, she probably wanted to be in it, and she thought, that's the part I can do without getting in the way of me directing.
Perhaps.
You know.
But then again, I don't know, it's probably a bit too close for her.
Yeah.
She wants to be in it as well, and, you know, which I can understand that. And I feel bad for saying what I've had to say, but, you know, it's only a true reflection of what we saw.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, let's talk about the direction. I didn't feel it was. I didn't feel there was anything great or different or new or fresh. It just seemed very all rightish, and I think this stems down to the whole amateur thing as well. Like, it was very basic.
Yeah.
Stand here, talk, turn, move over there, talk, have a conversation over there. You know, nothing seemed to be a bit complex or anything. Not like we always expect things to be complex, but it just seemed to plod on.
I think there was also some trust put in the actors to act how they would act.
Yeah.
Less about working on them as individual characters, because let's face it, you know, Samantha Giles, she can turn a hand to anything. And it's
well, I'm not saying to do woodwork.
Well, exactly. But she can.
I'm not seeing everybody go up there in my bloody tiles.
But I think you almost trust that they can create a character and do it themselves.
Yeah.
So your directing becomes easy, because you don't have to direct how you want them to be, and that can actually not be useful if everybody's given that approach. And you just talk about blocking and moving, and you don't actually work on the characterization, and that sometimes can have a bit of an issue, you know.
Yeah.
Or maybe there was I feel there was more attention spent on the first half than the second.
Yes.
That's how I feel.
Yeah.
With regard, because there was more activity in the first half with regard to different spaces, different places, movement, the burglary scene.
It felt like there was more of an idea in the first half, and the second half is very much, I'm not really sure what to have in here, even down to the set. I don't quite know what I want.
But what to do now is that It's like, I feel like what might have been said is, I do know we need to have those two people say that here, those two people that here, and those two people that here. So they need to go off, they need to go off, they need to go off. And it's like there was more of that. It was like walking in, walking out, walking in. It was more entrance in, getting off. It was entrance in, getting off. There was no real dynamicism or whatever with it.
Dynamics.
Yeah, there were no, yeah, it wasn't dynamic. It wasn't
Dynamic enough.
It wasn't dynamic enough.
Dynamicism.
Yeah,
It's a new word.
that's a good one. But no, it didn't have the flow. It just,
Who's Flo?
I don't know. She
Well, she
wasn't
wasn't
there.
in it.
No, she was the silent winner. She didn't want to be on the poster.
No. That was a Powerball. In the second act, the inspector got them going into the kitchen. What the heck were they going in there for? Do you remember?
It was
Or
another
did
way
it-
to get people off, so we can have one could be caught out for having, it's like there was all
Overhearing
those
things,
moments here overhearing things, but the other person needed to be off stage, or it's like
Yeah.
that's where I was going with it, because it was like
Yeah, I couldn't remember what, because there seemed to have been a bit of a plot point or something that just seemed a bit like awkward. Like, why couldn't they have just done it in this room here?
exactly.
It seemed odd just to go into the kitchen to ask a few questions.
Yeah.
So, what, like, how does this bevel sandwich maker work? How do you turn the oven on? Is it dinner time yet?
I mean, I don't know how to
The
set
kettle
the
won't
clock.
boil itself.
Look, I don't know how to set the clock on the microwave. I mean, I'm stuffed. That's it. You might need to find that out.
No, just turn it off. You don't need that.
And just press auto.
And another scene right at the very end was a finale, the end scene, where Brooke Vincent as Amy got up onto the what was it? The chaise longue, or was it the table, the coffee table? And she had the gun, the money
table.
gun again. Was it the money gun?
It was a money gun.
Or was it
On
just
the coffee
money?
table, it was a money gun.
No, she chucked money up in the air, didn't she?
She chucked money up in the air.
So it wasn't a money gun. No, well, she just chucking money up into the air.
Yeah.
But then it just seemed like a really bizarre final that it was to end on her.
Yeah.
She had this money, she was chucking it up. But how it happened was like she struggled to get up on there in her high heels. She chucked it up in the air and then she crouched down and the lights went off or went down. But how she did it looked like, is there going to be another scene?
It created a moment, but it didn't really.
It wasn't the moment they wanted.
No, and it didn't. It wasn't poignant enough to be a moment. It was like she's just got money.
Yeah,
It was like there was no real.
Yeah.
She's not won, or it wasn't the.
It should have
It wasn't
ended
a
on
dramatic
Leanne
moment. Yeah.
and Stuart.
Yeah,
Because they're the love story you should be following. Even though it's about money,
yeah, exactly.
they should have followed that narrative.
Yeah, and
Yeah, and they didn't.
no.
So I think we've, to wrap up this little section, we've talked about the writing and we've talked about the direction.
Yeah,
I think that'll do for this little bit.
I think
won't it?
that'll do.
Moving on to our next segment, as we say, we're
Here for the drama.
Right, we are here for the drama, and what a drama it wasn't.
I agree with that.
Yeah, as we've already said, I think the strongest one in this was Samantha Giles as Denise. That's not to say that the others didn't particularly perform well. They did. They all gave their best. However, it was the characters that never particularly stood out, and I do feel that comes across in the writing of it. Actually, Oliver Anthony played wonderful as the antagonist.
Yeah,
Really, Oliver, who was the one that had the idea in the first place to steal the money, who was the one that smashed Bob over the head. He was the one who was being far too rude and spending all the money and being a complete idiot. And he was the one to actually die in the end. Oh my God, we had a whole dream sequence of him dying as well. Do you remember
we
that?
did. Yes, I didn't think you were
And
going
that
to come
came
on
out
to
of-
that.
I mean, no, let's just
We'll go pause that.
pause this. Right, go back to the previous one.
Rewind.
Let's not rewatch. Yeah, we talk about the inspector could have been like a godlike figure of the mind or something like that. But yet we had a dream sequence at the end, so it was stylized. at the very ending.
Yeah, but it couldn't make its mind up.
Yeah, I mean, I get that they did it. However,
The problem is that the build up to that dramatic moment in the first half, you know, like you say, the two brothers were for me, had got good chemistry when they were acting together and stuff, you know. Stuart was good,
yeah,
you know, and this is where they were all acting to their abilities. I just feel that the words let them down.
yeah,
And the actual, sometimes the movement, you know, it's a fine example of having talent on stage, but not almost
discovering that talent and seeing
and making the most of it as well. You know,
yeah.
because their performance level was there.
See, the storyline of Leanne, I quite liked her because she was mysterious.
Yeah,
it was
exactly.
very interesting to see where that went. But then when it did turn out that okay, so she has this reason to not be with Stuart, but then it turns out something that it wasn't because she did anything bad.
No,
It was because of something good about a baby. I can't remember now.
it was
fostering or
she'd
taking-
adopted. She'd
Given up.
basically adopted a baby, but then ran off with it because she was going to lose it.
Or she gave it up and then ran off with it.
No, the original mother came back to get the baby,
Yeah.
but she ran off with it.
Right. Yeah.
But I think the thing is as well.
Oh no, wasn't it hers to begin with? She gave up to adoption and then she.
And then they came back.
It was
Whatever
something like
it was,
that.
anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. So she ended up being like quite a good person, and you were just like wanting them to get together.
Yeah, and I mean, for me, it's like Denise's character. You know, Denise was good in the sense that you didn't know everything about her, even though she was happy and jolly, and she dropped things in every so often where you learnt a little bit more. And I think that's the difference between characterization and writing that you need more of when you get intrigued by a character, or they're not giving everything away but they keep giving bits away and you start piecing it together. I just felt like this became a little bit linear where you didn't really have that, you know.
And you also had the storyline. Well, we've gone back to storyline, but Amy not particularly want to be with Stuart, and Stuart not particularly want to be with her, but they do it for the baby. But then in the end, they don't. Now, whilst both actors, Brooke Vincent and Benedict Shaw, gave great performances in that, and it was quite believable, underneath, I didn't particularly care for Amy.
Yeah.
I mean, I do like Brooke Vincent, don't get me wrong, but I didn't particularly care for the whole storyline of that.
No, it was too predictable, I think, as
Yeah.
well. A little bit too... It's one note. It just felt like I think you summed it up perfectly earlier when you talked about Footballers' Wives. So it felt more like that than Syndicate. It just felt like a spoilt brat. And it was a bit like... It didn't add anything extra. It just was, you know, you could tell it was Stuart's reason for wanting to have money and to please her, but I don't know if we got the interaction right. I don't know. I don't think it didn't have the drive to make you want to learn more.
Anything else you want to mention about the cast in particular, or the understudies, or
Not really.
props and costumes? Then, because I've already mentioned about the inspector's clothes. Because in the second half, they did get like a bit of an upglow as well.
There was one bit that annoyed me in the first half in the kitchen. In the like I said, why does he keep saying kitchen?
The office, the canteen,
No,
supermarket.
in the actual supermarket itself.
Yeah.
The shelves were all presented to us face forward with all the products were turned so we could read the front of the boxes.
Right.
And for me, you wouldn't do that on a shelf. As in,
How do you mean?
everything was on angle to show us that the shelves were stacked.
Oh, well, yeah. I see
What
you
I'm
mean,
getting
yeah.
at is I prefer a bit of realism when it comes to doing, like, setting a scene. And
So you wanted
certainly-
poor mags at the top, did you?
well, yeah, I mean,
Is that what
if
you're
you're going to do
saying?
it properly, do it right. But no, I think there was just some elements where things have been turned and stuck, so it was done in a all on
So
an
not
angle.
shape facing,
They
but
weren't-
audience facing.
Yeah, audience facing, and it's a little bit like it's more about that being a backdrop than us making sure we see the products. You don't need to see everything to need to present it to us. It's like for me, it's almost, I've always got a bugbear when people show a photo to each other and they show it angled down towards the audience so you can see it, rather than just holding it between them before you can see it. They'll turn it so it's an awkward angle to, like, we've got to show the audience this picture so they know what we're talking about. It's a bit like, it's a really disconnected bit that really winds me up a little bit, because it's like, just make it look real. Don't worry about the... Somebody had a discussion, you can tell that a set designer's had a discussion on that, rather than something that's scratching the lino and ruining the, you know, it's like, it's frustrating, because it all felt a little bit too perfect and perfectly turned and facing.
Well, the thing, let's be honest, with all the stuff they've got in there and less customers, they're going to have an awful lot of time to make it look nice and tidy, let's face it.
I know, because
the fact that they got like scampi and lemon fry things and the smoky bacon things, I thought that was quite cool.
Yeah.
Those little pops in the cards. They don't have like a lollipops stand.
No, they don't.
There's chubba chubba things. But anyway, you can't have everything.
No, but I think for me, you sometimes need...
I think there was attention to detail in terms of set pieces.
It was.
Certain things.
But I think as well, like we said in the second half, attention to there was just underused props in. I feel like there wasn't enough in the second half to give you the impression that they'd just moved in, because there'd be boxes everywhere. There was not enough of a change to boxes everywhere then to like the next level where they've moved in properly, and it just didn't have that, you know.
And also, I'd say that in terms of the centre aisle that they had, it wasn't really a shelving unit like they'd probably have, because you'd have them all at angles anyway.
Exactly.
And I don't mean like facing you. I just mean like...
I mean like the metal shelving, the proper like...
Yeah, they'll be tilted a bit. Yeah. Whereas these are just like IKEA
exactly
shelves.
Yeah.
With just like biscuits on.
Yeah, and that's where it started. It just felt a little... Like you said, it's like in an amateur production where you're having to do with what you've got. Which is fine for an amateur production, but when you're paying good money for tickets for a touring production,
you need them.
You expect a little bit more.
The proper metal shelves, and the
you
stickers and the perspex and the things to stop them going over the edge.
Yeah,
of the shelf
you expect that level of quality, and I think that was lacking.
So that's that for that. Shall we?
There we are.
Whilst we are here for the drama, let's just add this little bit of drama that we had within the whole auditorium.
Oh yeah.
So
what can we say?
Oh god, when we talked about the very beginning of it, where we wasn't sure if it was an improv or she was doing a Q&A session, and then the audience members speaking out if they were plants or what. I don't mean like yuccas. I just mean like people put there to reply
prefer cacti.
back. Well, either way, they started talking at the end of like Act 1. I heard something like someone was talking, and I thought, why are they giving Kay Mellor a line?
And they were getting louder.
Yeah, and I thought,
louder.
Has she forgotten a line or something? But then when she was speaking, I thought, well, that's not what that person's just said. So clearly it wasn't a line feed.
No, exactly.
Someone was like talking over it. And then like in the second act, they were getting a bit more loud and vicarious and had to be taken out.
Yeah.
How weird was that?
And but it wasn't really. It was almost like they got there drunk and that was it. They just couldn't cope through it, and it was like.
I mean, I'm not surprised, but still.
Yeah, I mean, it was really strange because
that must have put like the dampeners on the act.
Yeah, well, it breaks the zone, doesn't it? It breaks the acting.
But it didn't feel like they had much of a zone anyway.
No.
Well, that was our little experience. Full stop.
That was the drama within the drama.
Yes.
Moving on to our next segment, as we say,
what the tech is this?
You mentioned the...
Can we talk about the dream scene?
Oh, go on then. We have brought it up.
And the shaky water effect at the back that looked like a church.
Oh.
When he basically jumped in the river.
Oh my god,
when they had the blue light at the back, and it was all just shaky lights, and it wasn't the best use of technical. Like for me, a dramatic scene doesn't always have to have blue flashing lights, and it's all a bit weird. It's He's jumped into the water, so we've got to put blue lights on it. It was a bit like it's too obvious,
Yeah.
And I think sometimes it's very easy to go for, oh well, we'll use a projected light of some wave, like almost like wavy lines to make it look like it's in water.
Yeah.
It's a bit like you don't always need it. You don't always need that element,
And the lighting, there was no like shaded lighting. I mean, there was coloured lighting for that dream sequence. However, the rest of the set was very much a standard.
Everything may as well have
lit.
been lit with fluorescent lights, to be honest, because
quite
it
bright.
just felt bright in the first and second half.
Yeah.
There was
Unless
only
you
a few.
turned the lights off
There
when
was
they were.
there
going
was
in
more
to
in the
rob
first
it.
half where they were actually in like the office or they were dimly lit because they were burgling and there was other than that there wasn't really anything
No.
impressive.
No. And did we have the sirens from the police car, so the blue flashing light as well?
Yeah.
Was that?
There was at the back.
Because they came in from the side, stage left, but yet we've got like the main
The
doors
lights coming through the garden doors.
we've got like the doors to the orangery.
Orangery, yeah, that weren't the
But it was
doors.
the shop door.
Yeah, shop door, yeah.
So why couldn't they have just turned that into Anyway, that's a completely different
Tangent
topic.
was.
Yeah. So there wasn't really anything.
Anything
Special was this, was
impressive, I suppose the only thing you could say is technically,
The TV.
the TV and the CCTV footage and things. I mean, it looked real.
Yeah.
They did a good job with making it look like a working smart TV and things like that. But it wasn't, it was just that added to it. But other than that element, the rest, it's pretty standard, really.
And now it's time for
Rewind, rewatch.
Rewind, rewatch, Richard. What would you like to rewind and watch again?
I'd watch it again if it had a rewrite.
Yeah, I'd agree with you on that one. I was going to be a bit harsher with what I was going to say, but I won't now. I'd say, yeah, a rewrite. It's difficult to write a play based on somebody's words that can no longer contribute to what this end piece should be like.
Exactly.
To know how it would work,
Yeah.
particularly if it wasn't written in this medium in the first place. But I think, yeah, it would benefit from a rewrite and structuring slightly so we follow something a little bit more in detail.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Moving on to our final segment, as we say,
Call this a show?
to sum up now for The Syndicate, or Kay Mellor's The Syndicate. Final words.
A production that's got promise, but it needs so much more work to bring it up to a performance level that would leave you entertained and walking out the door enjoying it. So, for me, go and see it, make your own opinions. This is just our opinions or my opinion. Everybody responds to things differently. So, but it left me feeling flat.
Yes, I agree. This one was something I really wanted to go and see. I was quite taken by it. I thought it would be a really good ride and quite enjoyable. However, afterwards, no, it's not where I envisage it should be. But again, if you're intrigued and you like the TV show, go and see it. Scores then, please, Richard, for Kay Mellor's The Syndicate. On a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the perfect jackpot and 1 being a play that needs more lottery funding, what's it going to be?
I'm going to give this a 5. And I think that's all I'm going to say.
I'm going to give this a 3. So, what sound effect will you be choosing from the following? A complete train wreck? Tumbleweed? An audible shrug of the shoulders? A slow clap? A pleasant applause? Or a standing ovation? What will it be?
For me, it's going to be Tumbleweed because I just think that it doesn't warrant any more.
I think this is like a hurricane of tumbleweed.
So there we are. That's our discussion of The Syndicate. We hope you found it insightful.
If not, entertaining.
Stay tuned as we bring you more of our thoughts
And opinions.
on many theatrical delights in future episodes. If you'd like to get in touch, email us at upstagedownsstagepod@gmail.com. You can always join in the chat to share with us your views of a production.
Also, make sure to follow, share, like and subscribe to all our channels so you get every episode the second it's released. And we hope you join us again for another instalment of
Upstage Downstage.
Right, are you ready
Ready when
then?
you are,
I'm ready when you are.
Are you ready though?
I'm ready.
Are you really ready?
I'm really, really,
Are
really
you
ready.
really ready?
I'm really ready for
Really
this.
want to see them fingers.
Excuse me. Where are you going to put them?
Well, you can play hide and seek. On today's episode, I'm going to pause. On today's episode, we'll be discussing The Syndicate. We saw this production at the Theatre Royal Nottingham. Why did I pause? Because I put that in it. It's anyway.
Have you finished deliberating between yourselves?
On today's episode, we'll be discussing The Syndicate. We saw this production at the Theatre Royal Nottingham on the 7th of June 2024. Following on from the huge success.
I don't know where you're going with that.
Following on from the huge success of her other dad.
Shut shush.
It's
Put
'cause
your
it
teeth
says
in.
that. Following on from her huge success of that's why.
Why her is from the huge success of her other stage.
Yeah, but it makes it all. I'm blowing it all in. Following on from the. It's because I read her because this was in the cry and above all entertain.
Entertain with her wonderful characters and stories.
There's no comma though, is there? Pause is wrong. Doesn't need a comma. Entertain with her wonderful.
Well, I copied and paste.
I know you did. I'm just saying it just sounds random.
Laugh, cry, and above all, entertain.
It's less of a comma, more of a. Anyway, I'll do that last bit again. The Syndicate marks the world premiere of Kay Mellor's final stage play, which once again demonstrates Kay's So, Stephen, what's it all about?
I'm glad you've asked me. Now we've had a little warm up. Shall we do that all again?
Why not? Shall we?
Yeah.
Shall we do that?
I think you should.
Because what you're really saying is, I'm not fucking editing that.
That's right. That's right.
On today's episode, we'll be discussing The Syndicate. We saw this production at the Theatre Royal Nottingham on the 7th of June 2024. Following on from the huge success of other stage adaptations of her. Why am I not missing? Why am I saying that?
Will a share of the £24 million
Oh.
jackpot Cops and prostitutes.
Cops and prostitutes.
Cops and prostitutes.
Prostitutes. Cops and prostitutes. So there we are. That's our discussion of The Syndicate. We hope you found it exciting.
What?
I tried to do it without looking.
Never do it without looking, Richard. You don't know where you're going.
So,
What?
So there we are. That's our discussion of The Syndicate. We have... God, why can't? Just fucking do this. It's easy.